Hi, Charles Cherney here with The Real Deal, episode 12. And today's question is for sellers. Ought I to take my home, my property off the market for the winter months? So I'm going to answer this question as an agent in the Cambridge and Somerville market here in Massachusetts. And obviously, every market is different. But here in Cambridge and Somerville, by mid November, the market does quiet down. And it's not uncommon for a seller to take their home out of MLS for a couple months and sometimes more, beginning in mid-November. MLS is different in every market, but in the Cambridge and Somerville market, nearly every opportunity arises in the MLS. And what can happen is if your property is for sale and it's not selling, the days on market can begin to pile up. So if the market is quiet beginning mid-November to at least mid-January, it's not uncommon for a seller to say, hey, why should I be in MLS and accrue 60 days on market if I'm not going to find a buyer in this off season in these winter months? And then in the new year, I've got all those additional days on market suggesting possibly to buyers that, the listing is stale or overpriced or not selling, and put this negative thought in their head. It's again quite common for sellers to just give it a rest. So they come out of MLS, and then in the new year, after the 15th of January, after the holidays, they can decide when they're ready to relist the property and acquire a new MLS ID and acquire a new days on market history and sort of begin again fresh with the days on market clock set to zero. For the MLS rules that pertain, MLS PIN that serves the Cambridge and Somerville market, you're afforded a new days on market clock reset to zero if you've been inactive in MLS for 60 days. So the way that works is if you're canceled or withdrawn, you begin again with a new MLS ID number, and it's established in the system that your days on market when you begin again are back to zero to begin if you've been out of the system as an active listing for at least 60 days. So look, it's not every seller that can afford to be off MLS in the winter because they need to sell, and they need to sell as soon as possible, and they need everyone who has potential interest to know of the listing, and so they stay in MLS through the winter months. However, for sellers who are not under duress to sell, who understand that they're maybe going to serve themselves by taking a break in the MLS system and relisting in the new year, it's not uncommon for such a seller to give it a rest. Into November is Thanksgiving, and then into December is Christmas and the New Year. It gets dark, it's cold, people are traveling, not as many buyers are out ready to buy. So for all these reasons, it makes sense to give it a rest. Now, as a seller, you can execute with your listing agent a non-MLS listing agreement so that the property can still remain for sale and be shown upon request and sold. There is the advantage there of allowing for someone with interest in the off season to still pursue the opportunity. It's just that you're not accruing days on market on your public days on market clock in MLS, which then is disseminated across the internet to all websites that pick up on the MLS feed. So again, it's not to say that you cannot be on the market as a seller in the winter. You can. The question is whether you're going to be in MLS. So every situation is unique. But again, in my experience as a top agent over the last 25 years, I've had a number of clients who give it a rest, come back on in the new year with a fresh days on market clock. It's also a chance in the new year to reassess the price and take a look at what's going on in the market in the new year. Remember, the new year is the beginning of the spring market, which broadly speaking is January to June. And based on the weather and based on the market, it may be that some sellers jump right back on the market in mid-January, and others decide to extend the break and wait for prime time in the spring market and hold off until March, perhaps. So it's situational chess for each and every seller. Do I take my home off the MLS for the off season? Do I execute a non-MLS listing agreement so that I can have it shown upon request through my agent in the off season? If I've given a rest of at least 60 days and I've got the opportunity now to come back with the fresh days on market clock, do I get going right away in mid-January, or do I push it off a little bit and wait for the heart of the spring market and aim for some date, say in March, maybe even April? So look, if you're a seller in Cambridge or Somerville, you'll want to review this with your agent, execute on a plan that makes the most sense for you and that makes it most likely you achieve your objective to sell for the best price. My name is Charles Cherney. Reach out at any time by text, telephone, or email if I can be of assistance to you in addressing this and other essential questions that inform your real estate journey here. Be in touch.